So, Stephen, tell me about your journey in the birth of your child.
Okay, yeah. Well, my partner was very scared. She was she had a lifelong phobia of childbirth, and she was totally of the mind of elective cesarean kind of way, and we spoke a fair bit about what we wanted, and a friend of mine is a doula, and she was involved around that early time of pregnancy, and
right.
We basically started to convince my partner that we needed to have a look at natural childbirth a little bit in more detail, and so that's what we did. We started researching and trying to find out the benefits of natural childbirth versus the intervention type of
right
model.
Yep.
And so we educated ourselves a fair bit, and that we had a birth plan, very detailed birth plan, and we went to a course that taught us how to manage the pain during labour.
Was that the pre-birth classes?
It's a calm birth,
I think it's called,
which was really good, and we were pretty confident of going in, having that natural birth, and it just didn't work out that way.
Right.
She really had a very strong labour quite quickly, and by the time she got to hospital, she was in a real state. And it was kind of a bit sad, because we'd done a lot of preparation about how we might physically help her, how I can emotionally help her, and all this kind of like how I can be the best birth partner possible. But when it came down to it, the only thing I could really do was the emotional kind of reassurance kind of stuff, because she didn't want to be touched.
Yep.
Yeah, she was progressing quite well, dilating well, and then it just all stopped.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she had an epidural, and that's when she kind of just slowed down, and labour just kind of ground to a halt almost.
Oh, okay.
And after a little while, every contraction that the baby was kind of, the heartbeat was changing a bit, and we were getting a little bit worried about that with every contraction. And so in the end, they did another examination, and they found out that the baby had turned, and so we spent the next hour trying to turn the baby, and
got it,
using physical and also kind of just talking to her, and
yep
stuff like that, and it didn't help, and it ended up cesarean.
Yeah, right. So
one of the hardest things for me in that situation was they told me to stay outside of the room right until the end.
Oh, okay.
And I found that was really difficult, because I'd been a full-time student, so I was at home with my wife all the time, all the way through her pregnancy.
Yep.
She was working up until about 2 months out, and so that 2 months prior to her labour, we spent 24 hours together, solid, looking forward to the baby, really nurturing, having wonderful good time
and bonding
around that time, and then right at the time when they're about to take her in, this theatre nurse pulls me aside. He said, "Oh, you're going to have to wait here. This is where we get the dads to wait. Obviously, you can just pull out your phone and do whatever you like." And I couldn't believe this is what was happening.
Yeah.
Right at the time when I felt I wanted to be there most. Then when the baby came, he had an APGAR of 1. That the APGAR is the score of the health of the baby. So that was an emergency, and people flooded the room from all over the place, and he had a low heartbeat, and took a little while to kind of come good, but within about 10 minutes he was out of the worst, but it was still an emergency. They still had a lot of people there, and there was 4 doctors working on him, and it's wonderful the way those people just go into almost autopilot, and they just start talking in their medical terms, and they're all like, communicating.
Getting the job done almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And so, he was in really good hands, and he was in special care for nearly 48 hours, so we didn't get the skin to skin kind of thing that we were really hopeful of. And then, about 48 hours later, we managed to grab him and feed him for that first time, and he fed well, which was really good. And the hospital staff were really great. They realised that because we had such a detailed birth plan, we had a doula there, we were really well prepared. They realised how disappointing the whole experience was for us. So they came by and they talked to us, and they really took us through it.
That's good.
And convinced us that there was no way that our son would have been born safely.
It's a bit of a shame, isn't it, sometimes when you're a new parent that those kind of things happens, which is, it's out of your control. There's nothing bad about it per se. It's just the journey.
I think the best we can hope for is to try and get an individual birth experience within that system.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that comes through more education, and it also comes through communication. One of the things I think is really missing in our society is men just talking about pregnancy, labour, birth.
Yeah, I agree.
Parenting, we're doing that. I think men will naturally talk about it because it's a bit easier because we are having a parenting experience.
That's right.
What we're not recognising, I think, in our society is that men are also having a birth experience. And that while our feelings, our emotions, the physical side is insignificant in comparison to the woman, it's still not in total insignificant.
No, that's right.
And I think what we've got is we've got a situation where men have been asked to come into the birth space from about the 1970s, and I don't feel like the rest of our society is caught up with the idea that men are actually meant to be, or fathers to be, are meant to be the ones who are primary carers during labour and birth. I think down the track we're really going to see a real revolution and change, and I think that starts with men. It starts with the men coming together and saying, okay, well actually we need to start talking about childbirth. We haven't been allowed so far because it's kind of it's not really our core, kind of within our core, but it's becoming necessary to get men up to speed about it, because we're actually setting men up for trauma.
So Stephen, what do you think were some of the deficiencies that you found as becoming a father within the system?
Okay, I think there is this kind of, you feel a bit overlooked sometimes when you're, like I said, I went to all of the appointments, and being there with midwives, you're not really kind of included in the conversation, which is fine to a certain extent because it has to be about the woman. I agree with that. But I have a point of view that says if we actually include fathers in education and also in these appointments and things like that, then the outcomes for families are going to be better in the future. Because you're going to have a bunch of people who are men who are ready to kind of step up during labour and birth. So I want to see a little bit more targeted education at men so that we can start to actually break down those barriers, and we can begin to talk about it between ourselves.
Right.
As men. I think that men don't necessarily have the language or the permission to communicate about how they feel about their baby before it's born. So even if they're asked, many men would say, I don't really feel connected to the baby until I see it. Well, what I would ask is, what does that connection actually mean? What when you say, how do you feel connected to your baby? If you go to work and have a daydream while you're working away doing whatever, and you have a daydream about your baby, and you're thinking, oh, there's a future. You're connecting to your baby emotionally.
Yeah,
But
true.
men, so we don't even have the capability of expressing, admitting that we are looking forward to it, or things like that.
I think so. Also, too, a lot of men see the word connection as more of a physical thing because it's bandied around at a birth.
Yeah.
You know, with women, you know that maternal instinct and all that kind of stuff. And I think sometimes men feel that because I'm not giving birth, then I don't really have the same connection. And so, you're right. The dialogue has to be different, or the language that we're using with each other has to change in order for us to kind of know that the connection doesn't necessarily mean the physical part.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's exactly right. And I would also say, learn as much as you can before you go into birth, because it is a very powerful kind of beast, and it's quite shocking to watch and to witness.
Yeah, true.
And the mental anguish you feel when you're seeing your partner in so much pain, it takes some courage. It takes some gumption to kind of to get through that as well. I found that was one of the difficult things for me. So I would tell them those things.
Okay. With regards to helping dads that are stepping in to the birthing arena, their baby's about to arrive, what are some of the tools you think that they might need to make them feel like they've had a successful birth themselves?
So planning up front, and I think, and ask them questions, so many questions. Make sure that you understand what it is they're intending to do, why they intend to do it, what are the risks, what are the impacts, and what is the impact of doing nothing. So the more educated that you can be when you walk into that birth suite, the better the conversation is between you and the medical staff.
Yeah, true.
And that's how you get your individual experience out of a system that deals with everyone.
Yep.
So you need to, the best way is to be educated, understand it, and then you get to kind of sneak in under the radar, and you know, and they really like it. I know that medical staff really like it when people come in, they're a little bit more educated about birth.
Sure.
You know, it's a better conversation, and I think that midwives are really they really want men to be better in the birth suite.
So what are some of the observations you've seen of being a new father yourself?
It's fantastic. It's number one.
That's good.
Oh, look, I love it. I mean, this is my first child. I had it, you know, I'm nearly 50. I had it late in life, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. When you first get that child, you first hold that child, you feel like they're made of glass, really brittle glass, and you're very much scared to do it, scared to hold them even, which is fine. But that disappears very quickly. For me, it did. You know, you find out they're a lot more resilient, and you'll probably check on their check if they're breathing about 20 or 50 times a day. That's okay as well, because I think everyone must do that. Because it's, you know, in the middle of the night, you might wake up and you hear, you know, you go, oh. And once it enters your mind, I found that I couldn't. So that was one of the things that I probably did more often than was necessary. Got up, checked that he was breathing, which is fine because you get to look at them again.
So, Stephen, you're developing a project for fathers that are expecting babies for the first time. Tell me a bit about that project.
My doula friend and I have put together a program basically to provide men with confidence to step into the birth space, to be good advocates for their partners. And also we talk a little bit about the three key relationships that they have, you know, not only during pregnancy, labour and beyond, but throughout their whole life with their family. And that is, you know, the relationship to yourself, the relationship to your partner, the relationship to your baby. So we cover a little bit about how best to support your partner during pregnancy, labour and birth. So that's physically and emotionally. And I think we have a lot of potential to make birth better, you know, across the board. And I think that does start with men. I think once men can get a little bit more au fait with it, a little bit more understanding of childbirth and not so scared of it, then we'll see societal changes around, like, across our society, because it'll be a really positive step into the beginning of a family.
Okay, so let's do 5 for the drive.
All right, 5 for the drive.
And so the first question, what's your go-to bribe?
A bribe? Well, as he's only 10 months old, at the moment, the only bribe you can really do is swap bribe. Right. So you find something that's as interesting or more interesting than the thing that he's got in his hand that's dangerous. Right. And you swap it with something. Got it. And it works a treat.
That's brilliant. I love that. Discipline you or your partner?
It's kind of a both thing. It's a both thing. Probably later on, I'll come in a little bit more, but at the moment, it'll be her.
Nice. What's your dream car?
Dream car, maybe a Maserati.
Oh, yes. Lovely, lovely. Any Maserati, really.
Just
doesn't matter.
Just Maserati in the driveway. Thank you.
If you get the cash. DIY or call a tradie?
DIY. I used to be a tradie, so I used to be an electrician. So,
okay.
And I've renovated a few houses. Yep. And never again, but DIY.
So,
yeah,
nice.
I'll do it.
Yeah, and it's cheaper.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got a favourite driving song?
Favourite driving song, probably Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, I was driving down the coast one year, down the coast of New South Wales, around Pambula area. It was the middle of the night, and I just had this blaring. I was over the speed limit, double the speed limit, or whatever, you know. And I just had that rearing. And so when I heard that question, I was like, oh, yeah.
Nice.
I remember that one.
Yeah, nice. Well, Stephen, it's been awesome having a chat with you today, and I really appreciate you coming in for the drive. And I think some guys are going to get some really great advice from you with regards to changing their thoughts and attitudes towards birth, and I think that's kind of important for us to kind of keep the conversation and discussion open.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So, I think I really love what you're doing here, and I think if we can get men talking about this as much as possible, then we're going to change.
Everywhere I go, I feel so alive. Yeah. I'm happy head to toe. I'm in overdrive. It's alright. Clear those clouds away. I can feel the sun. Yeah.
Hi, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to subscribe, just down here would be fantastic. Make a comment too and let me know what you think, and if there's anything you want me to cover, and we'll see what we can do. Thanks.
'Cause these are the best days.